I'm not a product of the Ron Carr speech program. And then to have to follow his speech, there's something wrong with this picture. I'm not sure what it is, but it's not a good thing. I wanted to tell you, though, a year ago, February, I got this crazy idea that I wanted to try to put together a Riverview staff reunion. And for this to become a reality, I knew I had to have a committee made up of individuals that shared my passion for the Riverview Rams. And the first person I knew I had to get involved was this guy right here. He was a RHS graduate, longtime teacher that was extremely involved in the life of the school. And luckily for me, he agreed to be on the committee. As we began meeting, I was continually amazed at Ron's historical knowledge of this school. I don't know how he knows so many people and how he keeps up with everybody and knows where they are, but every meeting was always a joy just to see what new stories we were going to hear. Since I created the archive room and still in the process of organizing all the memorabilia we gathered and captured from the old building, talking to Ron was like opening up a book and seeing everything just fall into its historical places. For me, this was really exciting. I can't tell you, though, how many times during our meetings Ron would bring up his idea of a Riverview Distinguished Alumni Hall of Fame. He would tell us about all of these Riverview grads that were successful members of American society that had accomplishments far beyond all of our expectations. Many of you may know that about 5 years ago, Jim Ward started an athletic Hall of Fame. And when you go over and see the gym, which is the building directly across from us, above the doorways you will see plaques of individuals and teams that have been recognized as being inducted into this Hall of Fame. It's a fantastic thing that he did for Riverview High School. But Ron and the committee believed that we needed to do more. We needed to also stretch that honor and recognize more students beyond just the realm of athletics. At our insistence, we convinced Ron to make an appointment with Mr. Jackson, our new principal, to share his dream of having this Alumni Hall of Fame. From that point, Mr. Jackson invited interested faculty members to attend a meeting with Ron and myself to discuss the possibility of finally getting this project off the ground. 2 teachers came to the meeting. They thought it was a great idea, but they just didn't have time. They just felt like it was something they'd like to do, but didn't know when they were going to have time to do it. So the project got put on hold again. After the reunion, staff reunion that we did have in November, and by the way, it was very successful. We had a huge turnout of almost 90 former staff members. It was great. Ron did a beautiful speech on the history of Riverview High School, which we all just were in awe of. And then right after that, we found out Ron's condition, and all I could think about was that Hall of Fame. It was his passion, and he really wanted it to happen. So Jo Ivey had another project. So I started working. Then, not very long after that, I got the call from Pat Bliss about putting this gathering together. So we had a new committee, and as we started meeting and discussing what we wanted to do and what we knew he would allow us to do, I kept bringing up the idea of this Hall of Fame. I said, this is really something that Ron wants, and I'd really like to get it going. So we all quickly agreed this needed to be a priority. So Ron, we are happy to report to you today that it has begun. It's going to happen, and it's happening. Vision. We know that funding is always an issue when you start a new project. So thanks to a very special donation, we have been able to purchase the plaque that Mr. Jackson has agreed should be placed in the main lobby of the school. In the future, we probably will need funds for recipient plaques and any expenses that could occur for planning a formal or an informal get-together for recipients. If you as an individual or a class or maybe even a business would like to donate to this cause, please contact myself or Pat Bliss. At this time, I want to introduce to you a person that Steve mentioned earlier, Edie Smith. Edie has a lot in common with Ron. They were both English teachers. They were both Sarasota Riverview Teacher of the Year, Sarasota County Teacher of the Year. Ron was a finalist for Florida State Teacher of the Year. Edie was Florida Teacher of the Year, and Edie also was a finalist for the National Teacher of the Year. So I feel very thrilled and excited that she is going to be on this selection committee. So this time, Edie, would you come up?
Thank you so much. And Jo is right that you need to start thinking about those in your class that are distinguished alumni. And Ron, we've taken it one step further. We have somebody in this room right now is going to be the recipient, the first recipient of the Distinguished Alumni Hall of Fame. And we have searched, we've read resumes, we have really looked long and hard, and one of you already has your name on the plaque. And we would like to present the first recipient to Ron Carr. One of you in this room will be the next one on this list. But right now, we would like to present Ron with the first plaque.
Wouldn't be a gathering with Mr. Carr without a little bit of parliamentary procedure. So I'm pleased to help present a resolution commending the service of Ron Carr, Riverview High School educator extraordinaire. Whereas Ron Carr is the husband of Becky Carr, the father of Aaron Carr and his wife Rory O'Brien Carr, and grandfather of Dylan and Elliot Carr. And
whereas he moved to Sarasota, Florida in 1958, attended Brookside Junior High School, and graduated from Riverview High School in 1964.
Whereas he received his Bachelor of Arts degree in English, Speech and Debate from the University of South Florida, go Bulls, my alumni, 1968. And whereas had advanced studies in the University of South Florida, Emory University, Northwestern University, the University of Omaha, Georgetown University, and Wake Forest University. And whereas began his teaching in the Language Arts Department at Riverview High School in August of 1968 and retired from Riverview High School in 2003 after teaching here for 35 years. Whereas served Riverview High School, it's a long list, as a peer teacher, model classroom teacher, chairman of the high school Language Arts Department, Riverview High School acting principal, chairman of the National Forensics League, adjunct professor of communications, coordinator of the International Baccalaureate Program, theory of knowledge instructor for the International Baccalaureate Program, past president of the Sarasota County Schools Partners and Education Community Advisory Board. And
whereas served as volunteer instructor at the Newgate Montessori School, and whereas developed one of the most dynamic and successful speech and debate programs in Florida, and
whereas coached his teams to more than 200 consecutive interscholastic speech and debate victories, helping the school's program gain national recognition, and Whereas the National Forensic League Speech and Debate Chairman of the Year.
Whereas was the National Forensic League 7 Diamond Speech and Debate Coach given to only 1% of speech coaches nationally, and whereas recognized as a member of the National Forensic League Hall of Fame, and
whereas received the Veterans of Foreign Wars Service Award, and whereas received the Future Farmers of America Honorary Member Award, and
whereas received the Sarasota County Public Schools Outstanding Education Award. Of course I mess up, you know. Let me start over. Whereas received the Sarasota County Public Schools Outstanding Service Award, and whereas received the Sarasota County Schools Partners in Education Dedication Service Award. And
Whereas was Sarasota County's Teacher of the Year and went on to be a runner-up to the Florida Teacher of the Year in 1978. And whereas his interests are many, including gardening, nature video photography, kayaking, travel and sports, and
whereas in his tenure as a citizen and educator in Sarasota County, Florida, he has touched and enriched the lives of thousands of students. And whereas he was and continues to be a valued colleague within his teaching family at Riverview High School and an exemplary teacher and role model to the many students he taught.
Be it resolved by former students and colleagues at Riverview High School, Sarasota, Florida, that Ron Carr's presence and contributions have not gone unnoticed by those who love and respect him.
thank you.
Real quick comment. I finished runner-up for Teacher of the Year in the state of Florida. I finished runner-up to a former nun who, it gets better, to a former nun who is teaching students with learning disabilities in a Quonset hut on an abandoned Air Force base. Now, the only way I could have won Teacher of the Year is if I had been teaching albino Seminole Indians with cleft palate problems in the middle of the Everglades.